All right, as we just kind of cut ourselves off at the last second there on the previous part, handicap elimination match: CM Punk versus Curtis Axel and Paul Heyman. I've ranted about it a bunch of times, so I won't do the whole big spiel. But it, out of everything on this whole pay per view that bothers me, the number one thing that bothers me is the Intercontinental Championship is not defended, and it's to boil it down to its basic thing. Night of Champions is supposed to be about all of the titles being defended. And to me, the fact that they have the Intercontinental Champion in a match, so it wasn't even like he got injured and you could go, oh, okay, well, now we're kind of screwed. What do we do? He's in a match and it's not for the title. Instead, they book it for something that gets around it just so he doesn't have to drop the title to the person who he's feuding with at the moment because they don't want CM Punk to hold the title. To me, that's stupid. Have him drop the title to somebody else or have it on the line and have him retain through some kind of weird method. To me, it's ridiculous. It's kind of like having a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view where instead you have a normal cage match. It's dumb and they didn't think ahead. And if they did think ahead and they went, you know what, it doesn't really matter, then forgo Night of Champions and don't even call it Night of Champions anymore. Make up a new name like they did with Battleground and Over the Limit, because then it's lost its whole purpose. But match itself, handicap elimination match, it exists completely for CM Punk to win. And he'll get his hands on Paul Heyman, and I'm not even looking forward to the match itself, because I think this is going to be kind of like the Brock Lesnar one, where Punk is too obsessed with Paul Heyman the whole time. And then Curtis Axel comes up from behind him and hits him, and then he starts beating on him for a minute, and then he fights back, and then he goes after Paul Heyman again and all that. If they do go that route, it's going to suck. If they have an actual match, it could be good, but if they do that, and I think that they will, it's going to be boring. And I'm not interested in it at all. I really kind of wish that this would have gone a completely different route and that they don't have any more matches and this feud is over with at Night of Champions. What do you guys think?
Okay, I'll reiterate what I basically have said before. I believe this feud's going to have legs. In order for it to have legs, they need to amalgamate Heyman's stable with the new establishment. Because at the moment, people are teetering back and forth in regards to the heel and face mold. And Heyman looks like he's getting screwed over by Triple H and everybody else that works with him, including Maddox. In a sense, they need to go with this. There's going to be, I see it as another screw job for Punk.
Who's going to screw him?
I believe the establishment are. You'll probably see the Shield come out, start beating down on Punk. Heyman starts basically attacking him as well, like screaming at him and stuff, and they're all sort of shaking hands and working together. That's what I see. I don't see Punk coming out of this clean. It's either going to be a screwjob finish where Punk gets a DQ win, or he's got to get the win, and then he's going to get screwed at the end when he gets his hands on Heyman.
Payton?
Curtis Axel and Paul Heyman have to win this somehow. There's no reason Punk should win this, which makes me wonder why they didn't just put the title on the line. If he's got to win this anyway, it would have increased the stakes. It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you guys. I mean, just because it's called Night of Champions doesn't mean every title has to be on the line. The champion is at least wrestling. I mean, that's more than you can say at SummerSlam, where half the champions weren't on the card.
Yeah, but that had slams in the summer. So it goes along with that. So you do think that he has to win it?
He has to win.
Do you think that's because they are going to continue the feud?
No, I think it's because Curtis Axel needs to win this.
Just because now, he doesn't have much credibility as it is.
Yeah, I mean, he started as a ball of fire, and he hasn't completely fizzled out. But I think because of everything else that's going on right now, it's really lost focus on him. If they want to get him back to a point where he's in a spotlight, he has to win this.
What do you think,
But
Braden?
again, wouldn't it work though if they had him join this new faction, because then the spotlight would be back on him?
No, he's going to get lost in that faction. He needs to be on his own.
Well, I think Punk has to win because the elimination stipulation's got to come into play. I mean, do you guys just expect Axel, like people who, like you paid and say that he needs to win, would you expect him to pin Punk and then nobody gets eliminated and they just win as a team and Heyman has no fear of having
why not?
Punk put his hands on him? And another way
not every 2 out of 3 falls match has gone all 3 falls. Sometimes it ends in 2 falls.
That's true. I don't know. I just have the feeling that this could be like just Punk's night, like Tony believes could be his night to just win against both of them. And I don't know where the feud, if they're going to continue it, I don't think it can possibly continue after that. Wouldn't he have won everything at that point? Hell, he was about to beat Brock Lesnar if it wasn't for Paul Heyman interfering 3,000 times in the SummerSlam match. I mean, he would have nothing to prove against them anymore.
Well, I'll tell you where it goes from there. Punk gets humbled and he realizes, hey, maybe I really do need Paul Heyman. I mean, all the thing has been going down is Heyman has said, if Punk apologizes to me, I'll take him back. And all signs point to them eventually getting back together, so that's a way for it to happen.
And why do you say all signs point to them getting back together?
Because Punk's got nothing else going for him. He needs a manager right now. But what's Punk going to do? Yeah, he fought Brock Lesnar, okay. But he's not going to be going for the title again anytime soon. That's just not in his picture. He had a long title reign, but it was boring. There's no reason for him to go back there. His big ticket was being with Paul Heyman, being the main Paul Heyman guy, being the leader of Paul Heyman's group. If they wanted to take maybe Paul Heyman be a babyface to go against the establishment, I would much rather see that than have them join together and just make it a whole amalgamation.
I actually think Punk needs to feud against Triple H's regime, actually. I think it's kind of like he's had absolutely no interaction with the whole thing so far. You got to think it's got to be building to something somewhere down the line after this.
I'm still kind of believing that idea I mentioned on, I think it was the Raw post show. I think we might see CM Punk join the establishment, or I want to say the establishment because I like that name so much better. Mm-hmm. I still think he might be joining the administration by the end of the year, and we can see CM Punk and Daniel Bryan as the WWE Championship match at WrestleMania. But if they don't go that route, where I would like them to take CM Punk, give him the fucking World Heavyweight Championship over Alberto Del Rio. Just make him the champ, and it doesn't matter who he's feuding with as long as it's not RVD or Del Rio. Bring Colin Delaney back and give him the goddamn championship. Just not those two. I'm so fucking tired of them.
So you can lose it to me.
Exactly, yeah.
I can't wait to hear your thoughts on the World Heavyweight Championship match then, Tony. It should be...
Spoiler alert. It sucks. So, any other last thoughts about this handicap elimination match?
Well, I'll keep my mouth shut because there's nothing really I could add at this point.
I think you should use the correct term, handy-capable match.
Eugene's not in the match.
I'm surprised they're still using that. I'd have thought in the PG era they would have changed that name.
Yeah, if they can't call something an Inferno match, then how come you can call it
the handicap? At least they're not using like the handicap symbol as like the background for it or anything. Like when they have,
what would they call it? Like Ring of Fire was literally a translation from what an Inferno. What 2 people against 1 person, odds against them match? How would you even decipher that?
Against all odds or something like that?
They'll just call it a 2-on-1 match. They'll completely strip out any originality to it and just call it a 2-on-1 match.
And then we could have a 2-on-1 pay-per-view.
Exactly. I mean,
but then you can add some extra little stipulations for it, and it could be a no holds barred one, and then later on you could have a
street fight.
A street fight, and then Extreme Rules 2-on-1 match, and then a Belfast Brawl 2-on-1 match, and they could all be the same.
Well, no. If it's WWE, then they're gonna have one matchup that's just a singles match.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a 2-on-1 pay-per-view, and they're gonna have one singles match.
Yeah. We're going to move on to the next part and talk about something that's better than the World Heavyweight Championship in Part 10. Part 9, Divas Championship.
Shut your mouth there, Tony Mango.